You are watching Xirtus.
The Danube civilization.
Yes. So this is a video I still have to watch myself, but we brought up the Danube civilization before when I spoke about Kloster Neuburg and the underground access sites with potential teleportation, 15% aluminium alloy, uh, upper leg bones that are verified by the University of Kazan, of all places, to be humanoid, but distinctively not human, all of which were found close to Vienna in this underground thing, which was excavated privately. Also, you have Dr. Kusch, whom I brought up, Unterwelten, and the government still to this day is doing everything they can to basically bury the place again with stupid excuses. And the guy there says at the excavation site, so not this guy, basically says it seems like this is related to the Danube civilization, Donau-Zivilisation. Yet Donau-Zivilisation, Danube civilization is something you will certainly not get any funding for within the European Union. It's kind of like a banned topic, even though it's a real thing, basically. So just because I had brought it up previously, I thought I have to refer to that. If anyone wants to learn more about potential, let's just say historic cultures in the European region, Danube civilization is one thing to look at, which is woefully underrepresented and deliberately hidden, it appears. Here we have Mystery of the Colosseum. This is just talking about the potential, let's say, alternative chronology about the Colosseum. I also, these series, I don't think I've seen them yet, but anytime I want to point out History, Science, or Fiction channel or Searches Translations, basically giving an alternative account of what the Colosseum actually was. I think here maybe even purporting they may have started constructing it and it was abandoned or something like this, but certainly a different story than what they would generally tell you if you do a tour in Rome. And you have, of course, Nosowski featured there.
Very cool. Yeah, underground as well in the old way. So Lu Shun.
Right, he came up. He was also sent to me by David Bibi, who I believe is Chinese, because he had also sent me this Petefi article where the Chinese are celebrating the Hungarian poet. He says that it looks like this guy may have been one of the originators of modern Chinese. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there, something to look into, because
so very often. Like, what do you mean by that in terms of like Mandarin, or what do you mean?
Well, I am too uneducated to give you a proper answer to that. But basically...
Well, because, there's two different kinds of mainland Chinese today, Cantonese and Mandarin, and that's only, the Han Chinese language. That's not even counting the old Chinese languages, the hundreds and hundreds, the 300 or so languages that used to exist, or the 50 that are still spoken, 50 or 60 languages are still spoken in China. So
maybe click on the link here where it says literary Chinese, and that maybe could give us a hint.
Where do I see New
World Chinese? Writing
classical Chinese,
literally. Yes, it was almost there. Literally Chinese.
Literary Chinese was used for almost any formal writing in China until the early 20th century. So the old Chinese, or they're saying 5th century, which you think is probably 18th century, I'm assuming, right? Like that's the idea. Or is it supposedly old Chinese? Coexistence of literary Chinese and native languages through China, Japan, Korea, and Vietnam can be compared to the historical literary use of Latin in Europe, that of Old Church Slavonic in the Eastern Orthodox world, and that of Arabic in Persia, or that of Sanskrit. However, unlike these examples, written Chinese uses a logography of Chinese characters which are not directly tied to their pronunciation. This lack of fixed correspondence between writing and reading created a situation where later readings of classical Chinese texts were able to diverge much further from the original than occurred in the other literary traditions, adding a unique dimension to the study of literary Chinese. Okay. So because it's symbol object-oriented language, we either completely have no idea how it's pronounced because it's written, it's not Mandarin or Cantonese. It's just written Chinese, and we have to take for granted that we understand what it means when we use these symbols. There was a TED Talk I recommend a long time ago. Actually, a book a lady made. TED Talk Chinesey, right? Is it called right? Yes, lady. Chinesey. She made this app to learn how to read Chinese, and this video is a pretty good quick breakdown if you want to understand how Chinese letters work. So you might think there's 2,000 bazillion Chinese words, right? But there's really only like 20 to 200 important things you have to learn if you want to understand how these words come together. 20,000 words, 1,000 combinations of 200 symbols made of 8 particular concepts that are essential. So a person, fire, a tree, a mountain, and you can tell what they mean if you start to think about it. There's one that's like a woman's mouth is an open mouth. Yeah. 2 of these mouths is a woman. You know, like, and once you start to get the psychology of Chinese, it really does matter the perspectives that you have. A crowd is 3 people, right? A person, a person, a person above the person. Following 2 people. Big is a person with their arms stretched out. So you can start to understand how Chinese makes a personal sense. A person inside of a mouth is a prisoner. Right? So these are the kinds of lessons you'd have to learn as a child in China instead of learning how to pronounce things. I mean, you still do, because there's actually different ways of pronouncing the same sound. And if you use a different inflection, it changes the word from being a profanity to being a compliment. So you have to be very careful with whether to use a rising sound or a lowering sound. But 3 trees makes a forest. Everybody knows that, right? And this logic teaches how to think. Chinese kids grow up thinking these concepts go together to make those concepts, which gives them all a pretty similar ideology. I mean, there's a difference in who you are, and things change, of course. You can't just be based on what language you're taught as a child. But yeah, no, there's a lot of effects that come from how you see the world and what you think goes together to make up concepts, right? What spell? Which one did you ask? Forest or fire, hot fire, flames? You can see a fire, 3 fires is a flame. Hot is 2. Lucian invented the phonetic letters to Romanize the sound. The system is still used in Taiwan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
David sent me the recommendation, so thank you for being live and commenting and correcting me and my ignorance.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, so Lucian, Chinese, early life. He phoneticized the language. Does it say that here somewhere? No, I don't see it here. But I believe you. I'll have to look into it a lot more because I don't really know.
Only on the Chinese Wikipedia,
yeah,
which you can't read.
Yeah, if you know more about this, please send us information. Like if you know more about Lucian in China and Chinese history, I mean, because you have to understand, in the 30s to the 50s, China completely replaced their alphabet with simplified Chinese. So Taiwan still, like you said, has old Chinese letters, and I know they use what's it called, Pinyin, their Pyongyang system. What's it called? The Chinese Pinyin. Is that right? Pinyin input method, I think is what it's called, where you use romanization, right? Here's an example where you might type she to make the sound she, and then
I think I once had this for Japanese when learning Japanese. It's
I mean, they need this in China because they don't as much anymore, but they did for typing because you couldn't have that.
I want to see the keyboard with 4,000 letters on it. That'd be cool.
Well, that's the reason why the iPhone was so important, because the iPhone and touchscreens revolutionized Chinese input. I really think that's the biggest thing that it provides, is that you can actually, write a letter and it knows what letter you're writing. So that's a huge change up.